Altos is brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.
Good evening and welcome to Altos, a weekly news and current affairs program produced by the Catholic News and broadcast on Trinity TV and TTT. I'm your host, Neil Parsonlal. Here's a look at this week's top stories. The Archbishop of Port of Spain urges an end to the us and them syndrome, saying every person, regardless of race in Trinidad and Tobago, has something to offer. Tangible aid from parish migrant ministries and the Living Water community leave for Venezuela. Bishop Clyde Harvey celebrated with Vespers of Thanksgiving for his years of service in Grenada. Pope Leo to visit Uruguay, Argentina and Peru in November. And Presentation College San Fernando hosts an ultra marathon. We tell you about it later. And now for our top story. His Grace Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon says there's no place for them and us in this small country of Trinidad and Tobago. Delivering the homily at Mass of the Living Water community on Sunday, August 2nd, His Grace reflected on the old-time days when we lived in unity and each one looked out for the other. He's urging us to see that every race in Trinidad and Tobago has something to offer. Roger Sant has more in this report.
Delivering the homily on a day when, according to the reading from the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus took 5 small loaves of bread and 2 fish to feed a multitude of thousands, His Grace Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon reflected on the days when Trinidad and Tobago had little, but everyone looked out for each other. Today, he said, there's a level of poverty he's not witnessed before.
There are more people hungry in this country than I could remember before, even in our most difficult days back before we had oil. I don't think we had the levels of hunger that we have right now. In the most difficult days when we didn't have 2 cents to rub together, and nobody had any pile of money and nobody had any big set of extras, we had more than we have now. Because back then, everybody shared with everybody else.
The miracle of the multiplication of the loaves and the fish, he said, must serve as a lesson to us as a country where we seem to be looking at what we have and don't have.
And we're starting to draw camps into the us and into the them. And Jesus is teaching us there are no camps. There's one people. And everybody who is there is part of that one people. Stop dividing up the people into us and into them.
Archbishop Gordon is encouraging all of us to remember that even though we are different, we each have something to offer.
We have 5,000 square kilometers we live in. It's a real tiny space, you know. It's a real small space. It have enough space in 5,000 kilometers for us and them. It had to become a space just for us. Each of the beautiful races that have landed in this little 5,000 square kilometers have a gift. They have loaves and fish, each one. Each one. And Jesus is asking, would we dare give that gift?
His Grace said, if each of us makes a conscious effort to give of ourselves to the other, then we would experience God's love in abundance.
That's the economy of the Eucharist. That the more you give yourself and the more generous you are in giving yourself, the more God blesses that.
I'm Roger Sant reporting for Catholic News Altos.
As Venezuela continues its long recovery from the devastating twin earthquakes that struck on June 24th, support from Trinidad and Tobago is reaching those most in need. The first shipment of humanitarian aid collected by the parish ministries for migrant and refugees across the Archdiocese and the Living Water community has now begun its journey to the affected communities. Altos reporter Dale Sideno has been following this story and has more in this report.
After the magnitude 7.2 and 7.5 twin earthquakes devastated parts of Venezuela on June 24th, organizations throughout the Archdiocese have united to provide humanitarian relief. On Wednesday, August 5th, the first shipment of donated supplies was loaded onto the vessel Regina Daniela. The vessel departed San Fernando on Thursday, August 6th, bound for Tucupita, Venezuela, where the aid will be received by Caritas, which is coordinating relief efforts on the ground. Coordinator of the Migrant Ministry at St. Dominic's RC Parish in Pinal, Christina John, expressed heartfelt gratitude to everyone who contributed to making the shipment possible.
It takes a lot of effort to make this happen. Additional to that, we would like to say thanks in behalf of the Living Waters community and all the other parish ministries for migrants and refugees, also all those stakeholders who come together to make this happen, to send all those donations to our neighbor country, Venezuela.
John said the humanitarian situation in Venezuela remains critical, but expressed hope that the donated supplies will bring some comfort to families affected by the disaster.
We had 3 trucks, 2 from the PMMRs and 1 from the Living Waters community. Some of the items are medical supplies, toiletries, non-perishable items. Well, we sent some clothing also.
John also thanked the owner of the Reina Daniela, Daniel Duran, for generously making the vessel available to transport the first phase of aid to Venezuela. Captain Henry Salazar, who is overseeing the delivery, also expressed his appreciation to everyone who donated to the relief effort.
As Venezuelans, we truly feel very proud that this non-governmental organization is making these donations to our Venezuelan people who really need them so much right now. I'm truly grateful. I carry this in my heart, and I'm proud to be here in San Fernando bringing this aid to Venezuela. Thank you very much.
A second shipment of humanitarian aid is expected to be sent to Venezuela in the coming months. John stressed the importance of standing together in times of crisis.
Today, we are doing this for Venezuela. Tomorrow can be also any other country. Thanks so much.
I am Dale Cedeno, reporting for Catholic News, Altos.
The Catholic faithful are being challenged to see the Mass not just as a weekly ritual, but as a transformative act that equips them to engage with a fractured world. That was the message from Father Kwesi Allen as he opened the 49th Annual School of Liturgy, a hybrid event organized by the Liturgical Commission. Altos reporter Clyde Harvey tells us more.
The School of Liturgy kicked off on Saturday, August 1st at Presentation College in Chaguanas, drawing participants from across the Archdiocese. The program, themed The Mass, Transforming Us to Transform the World, combines online lectures with in-person workshops. Father Kwesi Allen, parish priest of the Church of the Incarnation in Maloney Gardens and a member of the Liturgical Commission, delivered one of the opening talks, focusing on the introductory rites of the Mass.
Somehow when we gather as a community, God works in the depths of our being, and we are there in order to respond to the context. Our worship, it meets what is present in the world. The introductory rites, it gathers us, but at the same time, it wants, not just, it forms community, and it wants to work on our hearts individually and as a gathered community. So dispose us to listen, to dispose us to receive Jesus worthily, to enter into the Eucharistic celebration.
Father Allen explained that the entrance procession is not just a walk to the altar, but a pilgrimage, a sign of the community's earthly journey towards heaven, with the processional cross as a symbol of Jesus leading the way.
So as we enter, the imagery is that pilgrimage. The imagery is that journey of a community called from different backgrounds by God. So it is distinguished from a secular gathering by that calling and by our destination.
The School of Liturgy's online lectures ran from August 3rd to 6th. However, the in-person workshops will take place on August 8th and 15th. Organizers say the goal is to help participants understand the Mass more deeply so they can live it out more fully. I am Clyde Best for Catholic News, Altos.
Over the last 9 years, I've had some moments of temptation. Those were the words of Bishop Emeritus Clyde Harvey as he reflected on his episcopal ministry in Grenada. Bishop Harvey was speaking during a Vespers of Thanksgiving held on Tuesday, the feast of St. John Vianney, patron saint of priests. Altos reporter Keelan Jordan has more.
Bishop Emeritus Clyde Harvey used the occasion of the Vespers of Thanksgiving to reflect on his 9 years of service as Bishop of the Diocese of St. George's in Grenada, speaking candidly about the challenges he faced and the bonds formed.
In the last 9 years, I have had some moments of temptation. But what I have come to know is a deep love for Grenada. And there are one or two of you here who, when I started off, I didn't like you and you didn't like me. But you know what happened? The grace of God brought us into a different and a deeper friendship. And that's what I thank God for.
During the service, Father Carl Haynes reflected on Bishop Harvey's leadership, describing the responsibilities and challenges of shepherding a diocese.
This is our Thanksgiving this evening. Not for a flawless record, but for a faithful servant who tended as best he could the flock entrusted to him.
Tributes also came from representatives of the wider Christian community, including Archdeacon Michael Marshall of the Conference of Churches in Grenada.
You have been a faithful shepherd and a co-worker in Christ, and a bridge builder who strengthened our fellowship across denominations.
As he steps away from office, Bishop Harvey expressed confidence in the future of the Diocese of St. George's in Grenada, saying its continued growth will require the commitment of the faithful.
The prayer which I began to pray a few years ago was, Lord, give Grenada a bishop who will be much, much better than I am and that I have been. None of that will come true unless you rise to the occasion.
I am Kaylan Jordan reporting for Catholic News, Altos.
Culture Minister Michelle Benjamin has issued a call to the African community to stand up and fight for their dreams. Speaking at Emancipation Day celebrations on Saturday, August 1st, the minister reminded the community of the call of their ancestors for unity. Altos reporter Lara Pickford Gordon has more in this report.
The stage of the Lidge Yasu Omawali village at the Queen's Park Savannah came alive on Emancipation Day in a grand celebration of freedom. Member of the board of the Emancipation Support Committee, Dr. Asha Cambon, got the official part of the day's event going.
Emancipation is non-partisan. And when we have a guest in our house, we treat them with respect the way we treat any guest in our house.
Speaking at the Emancipation Day celebration, Culture Minister Michelle Benjamin spoke of the many obstacles facing the African community, stating that those can only be overcome with unity of purpose.
If we stand and we are that obstacle ourselves, how can we move forward as a community? When as a community we are the reason our young persons, our youths and their bloods are in the streets of not only Port of Spain but throughout Trinidad and Tobago. If we do not stand together as an African community, who will stand for us? We have to fight for ourselves and we have to fight for our dreams.
She invoked the ancestors, saying that there was a united call.
And that call is always a unified call. And that call is echoed in the sentiments of the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago, led by Kamala Persad-Bissessar. And I stand proud as part of that cabinet.
And from the stage to the ground, the celebrations continued with a deep sense of reverence and gratitude for the end of one of the darkest eras in the history of mankind. I am Lara Pickford Gordon for the Catholic News, Altos.
As Grenada prepares for its carnival celebrations this weekend, the church is calling for responsibility amidst the festivities. Archbishop of Castries and Apostolic Administrator of St. George's in Grenada, Gabriel Malze, is urging revelers to celebrate safely and with respect. Altos reporter Keelan Jordan has more on this report.
Grenada's Spice Mass celebration culminates on August 10th to 11th. As excitement builds for Carnival, Archbishop Gabriel Malzier is reminding citizens that celebration must not come at the expense of values. In his message for the season, he said Christians are still called to live their faith, noting that, quote, our values are not suspended during celebration, end quote. He is encouraging revelers, particularly young people, to act with dignity, saying conduct should reflect respect for oneself, for others, and for the God who created us. The Archbishop said that modesty in dress, speech and dance, and behavior is, quote, not opposed to joy, end quote, but a sign of self-respect and respect for the human body. The Archbishop also warned against excessive alcohol consumption, saying it often leads to poor judgment, violence, accidents, abuse, and regret. He further stressed that no celebration should place lives, families, or futures at risk. He is also calling for a violence-free carnival, adding that, quote, carnival should lift the spirit of the nation, not wound it, end quote. Archbishop Malzier is further appealing to parents and community leaders to guide young people, emphasizing that enjoyment and responsibility can go hand in hand. I am Keelan Jordan reporting for Catholic News Altos.
It was a morning of fellowship, faith, and fundraising on Emancipation Day, Saturday, August 1st, as the Seminary of St. John Vianney and the Ugandan Martyrs hosted a prayer breakfast at Our Lady of Fatima Church in Kirep. Clyde Harvey has more in this report.
The atmosphere was warm and welcoming as members of the faithful gathered to support the seminarians of Mount St. Benedict for their first prayer breakfast. The event offered a chance for the community and those who came from as far as Sapari and Point Fortin to connect with the future priests of the Archdiocese in a relaxed setting, sharing a meal and conversation beyond the walls of the seminary.
With that being said, again, I see some of you have come from far, from Point Fortin, from Siparia, from...
The morning was filled with the joy of fellowship, reminding everyone present of the importance of supporting vocations and the power of a community united in prayer and purpose. It was a beautiful start to the month of August, strengthening the bonds between the seminary and the people it is called to serve. Some seminarians missed out on the breakfast gathering. Rector Father Jason Boson explained why.
The others are on vacation back in their archdioceses or their countries in the different parts of the Caribbean. So they went back home on vacation.
But all in all, the day was one to remember.
All pirates, yes,
I am Clyde Best for Catholic News Altos.
Minutes after they took high from the bottom.
It's time now for us to take a short break, and when we return, we tell you about some sports news taking place in San Fernando. So stay with us.
In your Catholic News this weekend, The Devil in Division is the title of the editorial as it examines the recent surge in racially charged commentary in the society. Vicar for Communications Father Robert Christo has a Q&A on the growing debate over restricting social media for minors. Who will rebuild Trinidad and Tobago, asks economist Dr. Malinats. And our center spread covers parish celebrations of the recent feast day of St. Joachim and Anne. Here are the clergy anniversaries for the coming week. And upcoming event. I'm Raymond Sims, editor of the Catholic News.
Thanks very much for staying with us. To some sports news now, and the flurry of 5K road races continued over the Emancipation weekend. One of them was Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Caripichaima, staging theirs on Emancipation Day. But as Roger Sant tells us, Presentation College San Fernando went a few steps further by staging an ultra-marathon.
With Our Lady of the Presentation looking on, 67 brave runners started a 24-hour ultra-marathon on Emancipation Day at 5 p.m. The mission was to complete a defined 3.7-kilometer loop or yard in and around the San Fernando Hill every hour on the hour, starting and finishing at Presentation. Parish priest Father Matthew Duro was on hand to bless and witness the start through the blazing heat of the day. Runners journeyed out of the college on Carib Street, Circular Road, Royal Road, Pointe-a-Pierre Road, and through San Fernando to finish once again at Prez. The aim was to finish as many loops or yards as possible, with a new one starting at the top of the hour. A few minutes of rest was provided in between laps depending on your finishing time. Yours truly completed 6 laps overall. Others 7, 8, 9, 11, and even more. 23 hours after the race started, on a hot Sunday afternoon, 17 weary persons short of sleep, lacking sustenance and with heavy legs, but motivation to humble the best of us survived to the end. That's when on the final loop it became a foot race, and former national triathlete Avinash Amale emerged the winner. He covered the distance of 88 kilometers in just under 8 hours, Saturday into Sunday. It was a tired and weary bunch on stage at the end, creating history by completing the first ever ultramarathon in TNT. And earlier Saturday morning, a slightly easier distance of 5 kilometers at the annual road race of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Carapichaima. The race started and ended at the churchyard, St. Mary's Junction, and took runners in and around the streets near the parish. It was a tight finish between Donnell Francis and Darius Harding for the win, just 1 second separating them, 17 minutes 55 seconds the winning time. On the ladies' side, Hepkera Kafra was first in a time of 23 minutes 9 seconds. In all, 218 persons finished the race. I'm Roger Sant reporting for Catholic News Altos.
Bishops of the Antilles Episcopal Conference are raising concerns about how sexual and gender identity are being shaped across the society. In a new pastoral letter released on July 26, the Feast of Saints Anne and Joachim, the bishops say the message is directed to influencing values and policy across the region. Kaylin Jordan tells us more in this report.
In a strongly worded pastoral letter titled Pastoral Letter on Sexual and Gender Identity, What is Man That You Are Mindful of Him? Caribbean bishops are warning that how identity is formed today could have lasting consequences for human dignity. The message is directed to parents, educators, pastoral leaders, catechists, and policymakers. Groups, the bishops say, quote, have a sacred duty to safeguard this truth with both compassion and conviction, end quote. They caution that what is reinforced in these spaces will either safeguard human dignity or expose it to further manipulation and harm. The bishop also warned that these issues are, quote, not abstract debates. They are forming the conscience of our youth, influencing education, shaping policy, and disrupting our people's cultural and familial foundation, end quote. While acknowledging the sensitivity surrounding issues of sexual and gender identity, they insist their approach is one of guidance, not condemnation, adding, quote, we speak not to condemn, but to illuminate, not to judge hearts, but to form consciences, end quote. The conference is now calling on those responsible for education and policy to act, stressing that our Caribbean people deserve the truth. Our children deserve clarity. I am Kaylin Jordan reporting for Catholic News Altos.
Pope Leo XIV will make an apostolic trip to Uruguay, Argentina, and Peru from November 6th to 17th, an 11-day tour that will be his first papal visit to Latin America. The Vatican confirmed the trip on Wednesday, August 5th. It announced that the pontiff had accepted the invitation of the heads of state and ecclesiastical authorities of the 3 countries to carry out the pastoral visit. We have more in this report.
The Vatican has confirmed the dates for Pope Leo XIV's long-awaited trip to his second homeland. From November 6th to 17th, he will visit Uruguay and Argentina, where no pope has traveled in nearly 40 years. The Pope will be in Uruguay from the 6th to the 8th of November. He will visit the city of Paysandú before touring ministries in the neighborhood of Casaballe and attending a gathering at Montevideo Centenario Stadium. The next day, he will travel to the city of Florida to celebrate the feast of the nation's patroness, Our Lady of the 33. He will then travel to Argentina from the 8th to the 11th of November. The Pope is scheduled to visit Buenos Aires, Córdoba, and Luján, where the basilica is dedicated to the country's patroness. Both countries have gone decades without a papal visit. Uruguay last welcomed Pope John Paul II in 1988, and for Argentina, it's been even longer, the 1987 World Youth Day to be exact. The longest stop will be in Peru, where the Pope, known then as Robert Prevost, lived for 20 years. He will spend 7 days in Lima, Chiclayo, Cusco, and Pucallpa. 8 years after Pope Francis's visit in 2018, Peru welcomes not just another pope, but a missionary who made Peru his home, became a Peruvian citizen, and served as a bishop there. This will be Pope Leo XIV's 7th international trip and his 10th time leaving the Vatican since the start of his papacy. It will also be his longest journey so far, surpassing his 10-day trip to Africa and his 6-day visit to Spain.
This past weekend, thousands of young people gathered in Medjugorje Youth Festival, the 37th edition of Mladifest. Medjugorje became a major global Catholic pilgrimage site after 6 local children reported seeing visions of the Virgin Mary, known as Our Lady of Medjugorje, starting on June 24, 1981. Some visionaries continue to receive daily visions. 50,000 young people from over 80 countries converge on Medjugorje for the festival. Susanna from Sweden, who has Caribbean roots, shared how her first pilgrimage to Medjugorje has deepened her appreciation of Christ's love and sacrifice.
What I'm feeling is it's a mix of joy, humility, and also sadness, because just being here, it's obviously to go up the mountain, you need a lot of strength, you know, and at the last station, where you see a picture of our Lord on the cross, you get reminded of his pain. And also, I tend to compare myself. So when I compare the pain just going up here and compared to our Lord's pain, it's nothing. So I feel very happy because what he did for us is not a small thing. It's a really huge thing. And sometimes I feel like we take it for granted. And also, how I feel about our Blessed Mother is that pain also has to be immense. I mean, it's your only son, and you see him dying on the cross. That would probably be very horrible.
The Catholic Church in Barbados is mourning the loss of Father Leonard Alfonso, who died on Monday, July 27th at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital after a period of illness. Catholic News editor Raymond Sims tells us about this.
In a statement, Bishop Neil Scantlebury of Bridgetown expressed deep sorrow at the passing of the senior priest, who celebrated his 88th birthday on July 12th. The bishop called on the faithful to keep Father Alfonso in their prayers and to especially pray the Rosary, as Father Alfonso's love for the Blessed Mother was well known. Born in Trinidad, he grew up in St. Lucia and contributed significantly to education before answering his call to the priesthood. He taught at St. Mary's College in St. Lucia and Queen's College in Barbados. He studied for the priesthood at the Seminary of St. John Vianney and the Uganda Martyrs at Mount St. Benedict and was ordained for the Diocese of Bridgetown on April 4, 1986. Father Alfonso was also known for his involvement in the Caribbean pro-life movement, often attending major events organized by the Emmanuel community here in Trinidad. Funeral arrangements were expected to be announced soon. May he rest in peace. I'm Raymond Sims for Catholic News Altos.
And that's a wrap for our program this week. We thank you as usual for viewing, and we want to remind you to continue praying for beloved Trinidad and Tobago, to read your Bible and learn your faith. The July-August vacation period is always a great time for parish sports and family day. As we go, we leave you with some of the scenes at the Tortuga Parish Sports and Family Day held last Sunday. A fun day was had by all. Have a safe and blessed week, everyone.
This train is a holy train.
Altos was brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.